And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're receiving this information. My name is Rafael Vasquez Guzman, and this is Líderes del Futuro. Today, we're going to be talking about scholarships. It is time for students who are in middle school and in high school, as well as college students, to start looking at scholarship opportunities for fall and spring of next year. And so it is important that you don't just walk away this summer and not focus on things that could benefit you long term. I've had multiple students who have contacted me already. Today is June 15th when we're creating this document, but I've had multiple students who've contacted me and said, I'm starting at the university this fall, 2026. Where can I apply for scholarships? And sadly, they should have applied starting July 15, 2025. So if you're going to be a high school senior, stick with us because we have a scholarship that you need to consider. If you're a seventh grader in fall 2026, you also can apply for a special program. So here's the information. So it's important for us to recognize, why should I go to college? And the answer is very simple, because based on the level of education, yes, there are some exceptions to the rule, but more people make more money with a higher level of education, whether it is a certificate, an associate, a bachelor, so on and so forth. And so part of what we're going to be talking about here, and what you need to start doing if you're in middle school or high school, is you're going to learn how to save money. It is essential to save money when you go to college in connection with food, entertainment, books. For example, in regards to food, it's important that you learn to cook at a young age so that you can then cook at home. If you do what they call meal prep, then you will be able to have multiple meals. You cook once or twice a week, and you have enough food for the rest of the week. It saves you money. A lot of individuals eat out. They meet new friends in college, and they think that they have to go out and eat. You have to be disciplined with your money. Same thing with entertainment. And then books. A lot of individuals feel that they have to buy the books at the bookstore within the college or university, but that's not true. Many of the books, you can find them online. There's a book I use in my class that often I find a copy of it for $1 plus $3 shipping. And if I buy it on campus, is between $20 and $25. So again, part of going to college is learning to manage your money and having the discipline to not wait to buy that book until the second week of the semester, but as soon as the syllabi is published, that will tell you which books your professors are going to be doing. Also, while you're in college, it is important that you do internships. These internships related to the career that you have in mind will increase the possibilities for future employment, will provide you with real-world experience in your field so that you can definitely decide, is this what I want to do or not? And it increases the possibilities of being accepted to a university or a master's program if you're going to start at a community college. And so, again, it's important that you, while you're in college, continue to apply for scholarships and maintain a part-time job. Now, one of the things that I tell individuals is, starting in 12th grade, or again in summer when you're about to start your 12th grade, you should start applying for 6 scholarships minimum every month. Once you're in college or the university, you should be applying to a minimum of 2 scholarships every month. It's important that you maintain that discipline, but we also don't want you to apply for too many when you're at college or university, because then you lose focus. And then it doesn't matter if you apply to 30 scholarships, your grades are going down because you are not able to do both correctly. And so 2 of them every month is important. It is also important that you avoid scams. Once a lot of companies find out that you're going to be a senior or that you're in college, they start sending you spam, whether it is to your phone, to your email. And so it's important that you create a unique email just for scholarships and then check it every week. Again, because you don't want to end up mixing your personal email where you have your video game subscription information and your university application information and so on and so forth. So create an email specifically for the university applications, another one just for scholarships. You want to avoid scams. You do not need to pay anybody to get information about scholarships, but people create businesses by saying that they are the only ones with inside access to that information. And so the other piece, as you're thinking about college for the future, is what is the cost of college? Well, in California, the community colleges and their AB 19, it says if you went to a California high school and you graduated from a California high school, then the first 2 years of the community college, the classes will be free. Why? Because the state of California wants you to get an education, whether you're going to get a certificate, an associate, or you're going to transfer for a bachelor's to a different university later on. The first 2 years of classes are free, and we'll talk about programs that you may be able to apply to. As compared to that, right? When you go to a university such as Sonoma State University, typically the classes are going to be about $8,000. And then you put in there books, supplies, food, transportation, so on and so forth. And then when you think about other universities like UCLA, and this is information from 2021, but the classes themselves are over $13,000 plus room and meals and books and transportation and all of the stuff. We're talking about $36,000 to $40,000 a year. And yes, there is some FAFSA for U.S. citizens and residents, and there is the CalDream for some individuals, but in general, you should never go in debt in order to go to a university. This is why we're giving you information about scholarships. So the first thing for those of you who are already in colleges and universities is just a reminder that if you're a U.S. citizen, you should apply for FAFSA, or if you're a resident of the U.S., you should apply for FAFSA starting October 1st, 2026. If you're a high school student who are a senior or you are in middle school, put it on your calendar for your senior year, October 1st, you're going to apply for FAFSA if you're a U.S. citizen or resident. And this is a program from the federal government that can provide you up to $7,000, and it will depend on your family's income from 2 years prior, and it will depend on multiple other factors. But that's important. At the same time that you apply for FAFSA, you are applying for CalGrant, which is money from the state of California. For those of you who are undocumented, and if you are already at the community college or university in California, or you are going to be a high school senior, or you're younger, but eventually you will end up graduating in your senior year, right? You apply starting October 1st for CalDream Act. This is money from the state of California that can help you pay for your classes at the community college or at the university, and they have grants. It's the CalGrant. This is money from the state. Again, October 1st is when you apply. If you happen to be younger, or maybe you're getting this information and you have a nephew, a niece that you want to support with their education, the state of California has a plan to support people who want to save for their kids to go to college. And so there are nationwide programs like this one. Is called 529, and every state has its own plan. And what you do with this is you can create a plan for your son, your daughter, your nephew, your niece, cousins, and other people. Anyone can contribute to this plan. So maybe next birthday, and maybe there's somebody who's 3 years old, right? Those individuals, the family, friends, for the next birthday can choose to give a donation of $25. And maybe everybody decides that they're going to start donating $25 to this account. And so as a result of that, the maximum contribution is $15,000 for a single individual, $30,000 for married couples. And this funding can be used for the K-12 system. For example, if the person is going to a private high school, let's say, or they are special needs and they need additional support, they can pay for the university, career tech, and again, if they are people with special needs, once they're about to graduate from the community college or the university, these individuals can then choose to buy products that they're going to use maybe to start their own business. So there's a lot of legalities with it, but the most important thing is that you can create an account for somebody to make it easier so they can go to college. And connected to this in California, it's another program that is called Cal Kids. And so sometimes for some individuals who are considered low income, California will give between $500 and $1,500 one time. Once you create your scholarship account, you can connect it to the student ID for that student in elementary school or middle school or high school, and the state of California will donate into that account. Again, the state of California wants everybody to get an education. And so go learn more at scholarshare529.com, and the maximum amount of money that you can put in there is $475,000. And as I mentioned before, you can use the money for these individuals to pay for their classes, their books, utensils, rents, the food plan at the university, technology, whether it is computers, printers, maybe Microsoft Office, to pay for the internet, and as I mentioned, tutorial services for individuals with special needs. And people can create this 529 plan, whether they have a social security number or an ITIN, which is a tax identification number for taxes, they can still create that. So don't be disappointed if you're undocumented. You can still create a 529 plan. And this takes us to what type of scholarships exist for Northern California and other spaces. One is 10,000 Degrees. 10,000 Degrees is a program that is available for people in Marin County, in Sonoma County, and in a few other counties in the Bay Area. Go to their website and look for all that information. You also apply for this October 1st of your senior year. But if you're already at a community college in the area, you can still apply for that every year starting in October 1st. Once, if you get chosen, every year you fill out the application all over again, and it's not as complex, and they just continue to assist you with your education based on your grades until you get your bachelor's degree. 10,000degrees.org is the website. Also, the other place is Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa Junior College actually has over $40 million in an account, and out of that, they get some money out every year in order to be able to provide millions of dollars in scholarships. The Doyle Scholarship is there for students who study at Santa Rosa Junior College, but then they have over 600 scholarships for continuing students and transfer students. So if you attend Santa Rosa Junior College, let's say you were going to go to UC Santa Cruz, but you didn't have all the funding, so you go to Santa Rosa Junior College, and then you get the Doyle Scholarship because you had a 2.5 GPA cumulative or higher, and you apply for FAFSA or the Caldrim Act, and then you get your classes paid for. Well, you get the Doyle $1,200 a year for 2 years, which should be able to pay for your books. But then again, there are multiple other scholarships that you might be able to qualify for. And so when do you apply for the scholarships? Typically, you start in spring of your senior year and every year after that. But the scholarships are only for students attending Santa Rosa Junior College and those who are going to transfer to the university. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen or resident in order to apply for the scholarships. We also have in California, but this is applicable all over the country, Hispanic Scholarship Fund, HSF.net. Hispanic Scholarship Fund is for U.S. citizens, residents, and DACA recipients. And this scholarship opens up in January of every year, and the deadline is typically in February, and they notify people in June. In fact, one of my students who happened to be at UC Berkeley just got the message yesterday that he was chosen. And it clearly says, "Congratulations, we're pleased to announce that you have been designated a 2026 Hispanic Scholarship Fund Scholar." It says out of 56,000 applicants, 10,000 will get a scholarship this year. So again, a lot of possibilities here. Minimum GPA typically is 3.5 cumulative and higher. You can apply when you're in your senior year or when you're already at a college or university. One of the best scholarships out there is the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation Scholarship. It's located at JKCF. This scholarship is for 7th graders with U.S. citizenship, residency, or those who are undocumented. If you're in 7th grade, you start applying typically late January of your 7th grade. And if you qualify and you're chosen, then you're going to have a mentor that will connect with you for your 8th through 12th grades. And let's say you want to study computer science, and at your middle school and your high school, they don't offer that training. So this foundation may be able to get you classes during the summer maybe, or during the school year, and as a result of that, they pay for it. Same thing if maybe you want to be a musician and you want to learn the piano, and there are no piano classes anywhere near you, they can pay for those services. And then once you become a 12th grader, they will assist you with the application for the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation Scholarship. This is a scholarship of $55,000 a year for 4 to 5 years. You start applying typically late August, and the deadline is November. And so you're going to need a really high GPA. We're talking about 3.5 and higher for sure. Community service is important for all scholarships that I'm mentioning, but for sure for this one, you're going to need letters of recommendation for most of the scholarships I'm talking about. And so it's important that you connect with your high school teachers, your middle school teachers, your middle school counselors, your high school counselors, depending on which one you're going to apply to. If you're already in college at a community college, you can still apply one last time, 1 year before you transfer from the community college to the university. So again, make sure you create healthy connections to your professors at the community college, because then they can give you the scholarship possibly for 2 more years once you transfer to the university. We also have a video in my YouTube channel, Líderes del Futuro, which talks about tips for successful college students. Go check it out. It's in English. I have another version in Spanish so that you don't make common mistakes when you make it to college, community college, or university. And we also have the Chicana Latina Foundation. The Chicana Latina Foundation, one of my students just got the scholarship this last weekend as well. On Saturday, she got the email, and I was very proud of her. This is a student that does a lot of community service. She is in community organizations, volunteering. She also does very well. And so, again, the Chicana Latina Foundation, you are required to have completed at least 12 units at a community college or university in the Bay Area. It is limited to the Bay Area. And so check it out to see if you qualify. Application typically opens up in January and then closes in February. So again, it's important that you consider this. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen or resident to apply for this scholarship. Another program is Soroptimist International. This one is a scholarship program, right? Soroptimist, they do community service, so on and so forth. But this one, these are basically clubs, members of Soroptimist International, that exist in some cities and not in others. So you would have to go to their website to see if there is a group in your community, and if so, find out how many scholarships they are offering. This one also, you do not have to be a U.S. citizen, but you have to have a tax identification number. Their application typically comes out in the spring, and they typically award it in the summer. Immigrants Rising is out of San Francisco, and they used to have a $7,000 scholarship for undocumented students. But perhaps what is best is that you go to their website, and under resources, you can find out a list of scholarships that is for high school graduating seniors, for students at community colleges, and then there's a list for students who want to do masters and PhDs. And so if you are an undocumented student, maybe you have DACA, go check that out if you want to do that master's or PhD. The Point Foundation is also a scholarship that is open to U.S. citizens, residents, and undocumented students. And this one is specifically for the LGBTQ plus community. And they typically open their application in the fall every year. So if you're a high school student, you can apply. If you're at a community college or university, you can apply as well. And so the Point Foundation is one other resource for individuals. And for individuals specifically in Sonoma County, become familiar with Latinos Unidos de Sonoma County. Depending on how much funding they have, sometimes they give scholarships of $500 each, and sometimes they give scholarships of $1,000. In the past, during good years, they have given scholarships of $1,000 to over 100 students. And that takes us to the largest listing of scholarships, fastweb.com. This is why you need to create a special email just for scholarships. Fastweb.com has access to over 1.3 million scholarships worth over $3.5 billion. If you are 6'1" or taller, there's a scholarship for you. If you are 5'4" or shorter, there's a scholarship for you. If you're Catholic or Christian, there's scholarships for you. If you do not believe in a specific religion, there's a scholarship for you. If you are into art or you want to be an electrician or many other careers, there's scholarships for you. The only downside is that after you create your membership, they'll be sending a lot of weekly emails. And this is also why you do not want to use one email for everything. So for scholarships, you can go and check those emails and delete whatever is not applicable. Sometimes, if they have a scholarship that they know of and nobody has submitted an application, they'll send a ooh, this scholarship expires in 48 hours and they just want you to do a drawing that promotes healthy living. And you make a drawing and you submit it, and sometimes you forget about it, and a month or two later, you get a check for $500. So FastWeb has a lot, and one of the things that you can do is you can choose by the amount of money, you can choose by the deadline, so on and so forth. But just as an FYI, when you are considering applying for scholarships, do not apply for scholarships that are $5,000 and $10,000 and $50,000 if you're going to go to the community college. They are not going to give you those scholarships. Those scholarships are meant for university students. So again, the other reality is a lot of people are applying for the $5,000 and the $10,000 and the $50,000 scholarship, and almost nobody's applying for the $300, the $500, and the $1,000 scholarship. So this is information that may be useful to you. And that brings us to the Gates Scholarship. By the way, as FastWeb, there's scholarships if you're a U.S. citizen, resident, and there's scholarships for undocumented immigrants. So everybody should be able to get some money out of that. But this brings us to the Gates Scholarship. You can go to the website, thegatesscholarship.org, and their application comes out every year at the same time, July 15th, and it expires September 15th every year. But this one is only for high school seniors. They give about 60 scholarships every year of $60,000 each. And if you get it the first year, is renewable for 4 to 5 years. It's very competitive. Just like the Jack and Cook Foundation Scholarship, they give 95 of those scholarships. It's competitive because it's nationwide. But if you get it, then you are set for your college years. And so keep that in mind. If you're an incoming high school student with, I would say, 3.5 or higher for sure, they're looking for what they call the best of the best. But again, it would be high GPA, community service, after school type of programs, and those are the people that they're looking for. Okay. And then Líderes del Futuro, or nonprofit, offers typically 6 scholarships of $500. We have scholarships for people who want to become doctors, who want to become therapists, who are studying to become teachers, and so on and so forth. And so we've been offering scholarships for several years now for high school students graduating from Sonoma County high schools and who are going to attend Santa Rosa Junior College or Sonoma State, or if you're going to study medicine at UC Davis. And so this is the time to apply. If you are, in fact, a recent high school graduate, you can apply by going to our website for fall 2026 to get the funding for fall 2026. So if you run out of other scholarships, you can still apply for our scholarships. The deadline is July 15th. And so if you're getting this information, go check it out. See if you qualify. And then at community colleges in California, we have programs like EOP&S, Extended Opportunities Programs and Services. This program assists thousands of students in the state of California who are first-generation college students, low income, and the goal is to make sure that they're going to be successful. The application comes out typically June 1st. And again, what do you get? If you qualify, you can get all your classes paid for. You can get money for books. You can get counseling with counselors that will assist you to choose your classes. And you also will get priority registration, which means you get to register before thousands of other students. And so Whatever community college you are at in California, you should check them out. When do you apply? Once you graduated from high school, or if you already are at a community college. At public universities in California, we have the Educational Opportunity Program, also known as EOP. And every program is a little bit different, but they typically do support you with tutoring services, choosing your classes, and sometimes they may give you a little bit of funding. In some universities, they do. In other universities, they don't give you money. And when do you apply? You apply as part of applying to the universities. There is, at the end of the application, there is a choice to apply for EOP. So if you're going to be a high school senior this fall and you're thinking about a public university, that's when you would apply. Now, key items that are important for scholarships include that you should only apply if you're eligible for that scholarship, right? So if it is for African Americans and you're not African American, there's plenty of scholarships out there. Leave these scholarships for African American community members there. Make sure that you submit the application in full. Make sure everything is clear and neat and it's understandable. Watch for deadlines. Do not wait. This is part of the discipline. Do not wait to submit your application the day that is due. You should apply 2 weeks before. That way, if they catch a mistake or you catch a mistake, you can apply before the deadline correctly. Always keep a backup of your essays and anything else that you submitted in case maybe their system didn't function. I've had a student who submitted the application, something went wrong with their system. He actually followed up with them and they said, we never received your application. He actually had evidence of when he had submitted the application and he ended up getting the scholarship. Remember to ask for support if you need it. That often may include, especially for large scholarships like Jack and Cook, you can reach out via email, you can reach out via phone if available and say, I had a question where you're asking for this. Can you clarify for me? Okay. And write an essay that makes a strong impression. How do you figure out to stay present in the minds of the readers if you are reading if your essay is the first essay that they are reading or one of 400 essays and yours is in the middle? How will they again remember your essay? And then what we tell people is to think local and then global, which means apply for local scholarships first because you have less competition than national scholarships. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply if you meet the criteria, for example, for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation scholarship, right? If you have a 2.0, you are really not meeting that expectation. But if you have a 3.9 and you have the other criteria, you should apply. And then when you're thinking about writing the essay, it's important that you think before you write. Take some time to brainstorm. What is it that I really want to share? Again, it's very common for people to consider doing their essays using AI, ChatGPT, or one of the other AI systems, but it's a bad idea. You want to write something that is original, and if they suspect that you use AI to write your essay, they will just, move your application to the side. And so be original. Tell a story that only you can tell. Focus on a specific theme, right? This is who you are. This is where you want to get. And what else do you want them to know? Know your audience. Years ago, I actually contacted the scholarship department at Santa Rosa Junior College, and I asked them, who typically reads these essays? And they say, white females over 60 years of age. Okay, now I have an idea of who my audience is. So I choose the language that I want to use in order for them to understand it. And then, of course, ask for feedback from somebody who's not your girlfriend or boyfriend or your mom or your dad, but ask somebody who's going to be honest and is going to say, yeah, this is good, or you know what, I wouldn't give you the scholarship because this is not well written. And that brings us to the actual scholarship essay. And the outline typically is having a really good intro, telling them a little bit about yourself. You can talk a bit about an obstacle that you've encountered in your life, and we'll give you examples in a minute, but limit what you say about it. Focus more on how you overcame that obstacle. What are some of the unique skills or qualities that you have that separate you from the other people competing for the scholarship? Be clear about your educational goals. Share what community service you've done. What is motivating you to continue with your education? And why do you need the money? Finally, a good closing. So moving on to the intro. The intro must catch their attention right away, right? It has to be in 1 to 2 sentences. So this is an example. I have of late been thinking about numbers quite a lot, the number 1 in particular. That's it. Now, I want to know what's so important about number 1. That individual eventually got accepted at Harvard. Another example, visiting hours are from 3 to 4 and 6 to 8. The room was dimly lit, and whatever light did shine, it only did so sparingly. So some people typically think that the person was at the hospital, but in fact, the person was in prison. Not the writer, but their dad. And so it catches people's attention. They want to know more. Again, this individual got accepted into NYU. And the last one says, uproot a tree and replant it. Chances are very high that the tree will have difficulty surviving. What is this person talking about? It's not talking about a tree. It's talking about migrating from her home country to the US, right? It's difficult to adjust to the new language, cultural diversity, so on and so forth. Because of that, this individual got accepted to Brown University. And so then you also want to tell them a little bit about yourself. Maybe, what are you feeling comfortable sharing here? Maybe that you are an immigrant, or maybe you are quadrilingual, or maybe you come from single-parent household. Maybe your parent was incarcerated. Maybe you want to talk about your ethnicity because that will connect you to the readers. Maybe the fact that you're the first one in your family to go to college because you had an older sibling that never went to college. Maybe you talking about having had the opportunity to go and study abroad or travel with a different program gave you a better understanding of the planet, and this is why you want to study something that relates to the scholarship, so on and so forth, right? So you have to decide what you want to share, but it's important because it allows you to connect yourself to the reader. And as I mentioned, the other piece here is an obstacle. Maybe you learn English as a second language or a third language, right? Maybe you migrated here, or maybe you were born here, but your parents didn't speak English. And so how difficult was it to learn English? But again, don't focus too much on the difficulty. How did you succeed, right? For some of us, we migrated to this country out of need, and we are refugees. And it started very difficult. There was a lot of discrimination, but a year later, we got an A in AP English, right? You focus on the achievement more than the obstacle. Maybe your parent passed away when you were young, which made things a lot harder. But you have a 4.0 in high school. Maybe you want to talk about illness in the family, right? There was a student once that got sick when she was in high school, and she had all the right in the world to just focus on healing. But instead, she started doing a study at home, which really was in the hospital, because she was in the hospital for months. And so she would do all her homework, and somebody would bring homework every week. And she was able to be cancer-free, and she was able to graduate with all her classmates. Again, that's what they're looking for. And if you don't have a really sad story, don't worry about it, but share something, right? That maybe you assisted somebody who was an immigrant and was having difficulty, right? And then in regards to the the skills, it's important to understand that you talk about what makes you unique, what makes you different from the other 20, 30, 50, or 500 people applying for the scholarship. Maybe you're good at giving presentations or art or other things like that, right? So tell them what separates you from other people that, if you know your audience, maybe connects you to your audience. And that brings us to the educational goal. A lot of individuals are like, I still don't know what I want to study. Well, go take a introduction to career development class at your community college and learn and figure out what you're really good at and whether or not that's what you want to do. Because for scholarships, people want you to already have a plan. Let's say you are going to be a lawyer. Well, maybe you're starting at the community college and you say, I decided that to save money, I'm going to go to my community college. I will be there for 2 or 3 years. Then I will go to UC Berkeley. Once I graduate from UC Berkeley, I will get a degree in political science, for example, and then I will apply to get a JD, a Juris Doctorate, which is a degree in law. And so letting them know the steps is super important, because that tells them that you know what you're talking about and that you have a plan, especially if you're asking for 5,000, 10,000 or more, and you're like, well, I'm thinking between this and this. Now, they're not going to give you the money. They want people who come across as serious, disciplined, and ready. And that brings us to community service. Everybody needs to do community service. It's part of what they're looking for. Are you maybe doing community service at the food bank? There are some people who have told me, well, I go every Sunday and I take care of children at my church. That's not community service. That's service to your religion. Community service means that everybody has the opportunity to benefit. Right? So if your church sets up a table and says anyone, regardless of religion, is welcome to join us and pick up food, right? And we are not going to try and convert you to a religion, that is community service. Because sometimes people say, come and get some food and we're going to read the Bible together. That's not community service. That's service to your religion. Also, it's important that you do this regularly. So if you say, I go feed the homeless once a year, that's not community service, right? It has to be, even if it's once a month, preferably once a week, of course, but once a month. Maybe that's the only time you have to go to the food bank and, package food. It also cannot be part of your graduation requirement for high school. Some high schools require 40 hours, 60 hours, so on and so forth. None of those hours count as community service because you were not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You were doing it because somebody expected you to do it, right? Some of us volunteer with the immigrant community. Some of us volunteer with the homeless. Some of us volunteer, whatever it is. You choose to do so, you're not benefiting in any way. And again, the other piece that is important for this type of scholarships is, why are you trying to do higher education? You cannot say, because I want to be rich. Nobody's going to give you funding. But why do you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or a teacher, so on and so forth? Right? You want to support others. You want to prepare the next generation. You enjoy working with these people. Those are the things that they are looking for here. And I had a student once who said, oh, I want to be a nurse because my mom told me that she wanted to be a nurse, but she got pregnant with me and I owe it to her. No, your mom's life is your mom's life. Your life is different. Okay. So be able to explain what motivates you to do this. And second to last is, why do you need money? Well, you need money to pay for the classes, the books, the supplies. But you cannot say, because I need a new car, or because I need food, or I need to buy new clothes. No. Transportation is only valid if you're applying for a scholarship to study abroad. And there is such a scholarship, and it's typically $5,000. But that's something. Study abroad is something that you can do with community colleges and universities, but typically is after 1 year when you have demonstrated that you are able to do college work with a 3.0 or higher. And individuals ask me, well, if I put that I need the money to pay for my classes and my books for this, or I need to pay for a laptop, what do I put for the other applications? You always put the same thing, that you need it for classes, for books, for a laptop, for equipment, for classes related to biology or chemistry, whatever. Because you don't know which one is going to come through. And two, they're not going to check later on that that's why you use the money from this scholarship specifically. And finally, that takes us to closing. The power of saying thank you. You say things like, at the end of it, you just say, thank you for taking the time to read my essay, or thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit about myself and my goals. Give it your own flavor here. But the power of thank you is essential. This is psychological. By you saying thank you, the people reading it feel often like they owe you something. So they are more likely to give you money. But again, you have to do a good job with the essay. Don't just put all your expectations on this. But this can seal the deal for you. Okay, so think about that. And with that, my name is Rafael Vázquez Guzmán, and this is Líderes del Futuro. If you feel that this information is useful, feel free to share it with other individuals who can benefit.